you guys all have a very good understanding of Beaufort. Now, the problem with Beaufort, what are we doing? The reconstruction. There is basically the need for the city to build a new reconstruction information center that speaks about things that happened in the 1860s, 1861, about how reconstruction actually began in Beaufort before it actually took off all over the states of the United States. It is unique. It is something that actually, as they continue and they're continuing to do more history, if it could actually be tested and based, it could actually change the history of this country. So it's not something very small. It's something that could become international. So we went to Beaufort to get a sense of what is it that they have in terms of reconstruction. They have the information. They have the places where Martin Luther King wrote his manifesto. They have places on plantation. They have everything in place. The question they had is, who is the market and how do I reach them? So the plan that we had is not to tell them how to build a 1-day itinerary, 2-day itinerary, a 3-day itinerary. The thing is, how can you go about making sure that this product that you have is going to be well taken by the market? The market is changing, so the market is not the same. There's other places in the country that has a lot of history, a lot of things related to reconstruction to some extent, but not necessarily exactly how it's in Beaufort. So Beaufort in itself has a new product, and because it has a new product, the goal of this effort is to give awareness. With that in mind, I went into looking at, number one, you asked the question, does anybody ask about Beaufort? No, we didn't. The problem is when you go to Lonely Planet, you go to Formers, you go to other places when you want to see, I look at the literature review to see how it was perceived by the outsider. So just like you, I had three things. I had the internal data from Beaufort as to events that they've done or information they have collected in the information center. But I was more interested on the content literature review that comes from many other sources, not just the resources related to academia, but what basically was being told by all these travel agencies. So what did the travel agency say? Not much. Beaufort is always attached to the low country. Beaufort is always attached to, if you want to go to Savannah, well, if you have time, then you go to Beaufort, by the way. So Beaufort really hasn't had a chance to market itself. And actually, just a few days ago, I came across an article where the mayor speaks about how lousy of a job they have done in not letting people know. He has said, we have had this history here, and we have done nothing. So based on that, I collected information that was given to me by a professor in South Carolina, University of Beaufort, on where I got a lot of information from different events. People, where they were coming from, why they were there, people that were coming from Hilton Head to Beaufort, people who were driving from New York to Florida. So I just kind of tried to look at the whole scenario. So what did I get from that? I got that people basically people just go to Beaufort for a day. Okay? People who visit Beaufort more than a day are in Hilton Head, who they come to Beaufort whenever they just want to do something different. Also, people who are driving down to Florida. Oh, Beaufort, okay, let me go. So they go. So Beaufort really doesn't have, the visibility, doesn't have the awareness. So the goal is to build awareness. Not just to build awareness, like, hey, we have a beach just like Bluffton has it, or just like Hilton has it, or just like another place in Georgia has it, but we have a new product. And the product is that we have this history that is embedded in this amazing little place that you don't know about it. So who is the target? That was my question, and that was basically my role. Who is the target? Who will benefit from this? Because you cannot just say, blast it out. If you think that you're going to blast it out to the entire world, you're going to fail. You need to have a plan. You need to know how to market. You need to know how to position it. So based on that information, the data that I have showed that Beaufort, like you guys saw, is really, really strong with baby boomers. I've said that many, many times. And why are baby boomers very important? You gave me a very good graph that I didn't have to do, in where you saw the growth of how people, how big this market is becoming. But the thing is that Beaufort already has these people. They already have them. And a lot of them, as they are surveyed in questionnaires, they keep saying, we want more history. We want more history. And this is something that they're not given. They don't have anything and they didn't even know about it. So based on that, based on the fact that the baby boomers are key, we also know that the trick is to try to get people to stay 2 to 3 days. There's two people that come to Beaufort, the ones that come for a day or the ones who come for 5 days. But the people who come for 5 days are the people who actually are staying there with families. So we don't really care about that market. They're there anyway. It's the 1 day people that we really care. So with that in mind, we said, how do we bring awareness? How do we increase awareness? Who and how and through what channels? So that's something that I'm going to leave now the team to speak about, but because my whole issue was the market and where they are.
Okay, my name is Xian Han. I'm going to introduce the SWOT analysis for Beaufort. Here is a table of strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat. SWOT analysis is a comprehensive analysis that helps our group to develop a strategic plan that maximizes the strengths, minimize the weakness, take advantage of opportunities, and eliminate the threat. For the strength part, the top one strength is the beautiful scenery and the natural historical resource. There are also attractive historical downtown and the local shop. Manuel Beaufort is sure to keep visitors entered and smile with its beautiful landscape, local site, and general warm southern nature that make guests feel welcome and essentially right at home. Beaufort also offers the family-friendly, all years round fun, such as the biking, hiking, fishing, camping, and boating. Atmosphere is definitely another strength for Beaufort. Here is the weakness of the Beaufort. I analyzed the four. The first one is lack of public transportation. The second one is historic expectation not meet with the real experience. The third one is high cost of living cause a negative impact on tourists. The last one is public property need maintenance and improvement. I picked the two to talk about. Most Beaufort visitors expect history to play a role in their trip, but only a little more than half end up incorporate history. The study shows that only 79% of those visiting the country ranks history as important on their list of things to do, but only 55% end up participating in something related history. The next one is has high cost of living cause a negative impact on tourists. You can see from the table the cost of living in Beaufort is 15.9% greater than the South Carolina average, and it's also greater than the national average. For the opportunity part, here are the 5 opportunities for Beaufort. I picked 2 to talk about. The 5 is, the first one is public transportation improvement. The second one is enhancing the cultural experience. The third one is development of a hospitable community and visitor-friendly signage. The fourth one is opportunity for develop a group tour. Next is potential for expansion tourists. The last one is opportunity for develop a Beaufort image through social media and online marketing. The first one I pick is the opportunity for develop of Beaufort image through social media and online marketing. For example, they can attract niche blogger to the community and adding the video clip to the city website. Based on the Based on the data, only 33.3% of visitors in Beaufort are day visitors. So the group tour is an effective way to keep visitors stays longer. Let's continue to the threat part. There are 5 threats I mentioned. The first one is loss of small town feel due to the boom tourists. The second one is increased demand on service and decreased quality of the environment. The third one is competition from neighbor cities. The fourth one is natural disaster will affect the tourists. The last one is afraid of losing heritage value in the future. I picked one. The first is a drop in tourists from the perception that the city has flooded in October. Here's the news I picked. For example, the Ship Festival, one of the Beaufort's biggest tourist draw, was cancelled because of that storm. Let's welcome the Xie Yu to talk about the online marketing.
Thank you. So the online marketing objective is to using online marketing and distribution channels to raise the awareness of Beaufort and attract the target market, which is the baby boomers, as talked about before. And we have 6 strategies. The first one is the website SEO, which means to use some techniques to increase the visibility on Google. And fortunately, Beaufort, if you Google about it, the official website of Beaufort will come out first. So I think they've already done very good on this Google SEO. And the second part is the OTA, online travel agencies. The online travel agencies dealing with destinations is very limited. Like Expedia and Kayak, they mostly dealing with the hotel and the flights. But the TripAdvisor nowadays they tend to become OTA as well. So and it's destination specific. So I think there's an opportunity for Beaufort to promote them on TripAdvisor. And actually there's the page for Beaufort on TripAdvisor. They have all the information on that page is sponsored. Is offered by the Beaufort official website, and there's a section called Top Related Things to Do, and within those things there are nothing. There's nothing about the historic sites, because we want to promote a reconstruction center. So I think they should put more information about their historic sites on TripAdvisor. And the second strategy is the Beaufort own websites to get a better design and development of their websites. For example, to improve their website's layout and the contents, and getting more involved with the media, using more pictures and videos to catch eyeballs. Because nowadays, I think people are more interested in reading pictures or videos than reading text. So they should put more effort on that. And the second one, and also they can learn from their competitors like Savannah and Charleston. They all have very fancy websites. When you get in, you just feel like you are in Charleston. Yeah. And the third strategy is display advertisements. And better ads, the point is to be interactive. I have a very good example I really want to show you guys. Thank you. This is a banner ads for MaxLife. This is very interactive. Audience can type the keyboard and the character will play the piano. As you can see, it's very interesting and creative, I think. So it's like you type the keyboard and then the cute character will play the piano. So I think actually nowadays people are more getting tired of the banner ads because it pops up everywhere you go. So to design more interactive banner ads or video ads is a good way to promote the Beaufort. Second, the next strategy is email marketing. As the mayor said, they want Beaufort to stay as a community and hometown for people. So we think that email is a good way to keep close closely in touch with your market. And for this strategy, we think that it applies to the travelers from outside. It also applies to the local people, because the local people can transfer, can become consumers as well. They may want to go to the reconstruction center for their weekends. So email is a good way to keep in touch with their local people to make them feel they are they're part of the community. And then this next strategy is the web and analytics. Tactics such as multivariative testing and A/B testing. All of these tactics is used to get your website more effective to attract the audience, to find out the audience where is their first landing page, where is the most page they leave your website, or what is their browsing pattern to make more audience convert. And the last strategy is to cooperate with the national park system, because the national park system, they have a big market base, membership base. So, and they already have many sites dealing with related to the Civil War history, but they haven't. Beaufort, if Beaufort can work with them, they will be the first to have the historic sites focusing on the post-Civil War period. So it will be a good opportunity. And next is Xu to talk about social media.
I'm gonna talk about how to market Beaufort as a brand on social media platforms. Our main goal for this project is to help Beaufort increase the awareness. So to achieve this goal, I bring up 3 objectives. First is to add young people as a new customer segment, because the main target customer now is the baby boomers. But as we are the young people and we fell in love with that place when we travel there, so I see a lot of potential. And also, young people has the power of sharing. We like to share things on the public platforms. So if we can attract young people, they're like free advertisements. The second objective is to extend the days that customers stay. The third one is to increase the sales of souvenirs. So talk about the strategies. The first strategy I came up with is the review sites. Why I choose review sites? Because the research shows that travel planning is dominated by the online resources now. And review sites take up to 76% in US market. So I definitely will choose review sites. And this chart shows that Expedia, TripAdvisor, Travelocity, they are the most used booking site and most used review site. So we can have someone to track the customer reviews on the site and reply them with a nice attitude. Despite that, there's also a forum in each review site. Like this photo shows, it's Maldives Travel Forum. So we can also introduce Beaufort as a friendly, interesting and peaceful place to visit under the related forum like South Carolina or the similar sites. As if people have interest to visit South Carolina, they have a big possibility to also visit Beaufort. And the second strategy is the social media platforms. Social media can be promoted individually, and the first platform I choose is Facebook, because Facebook is the ranked #1 among all the platforms, and our target customer, baby boomers, are their main users. For the Facebook, I recommend increasing Facebook page and also create a hashtag Beaufort. And we can encourage the residents and the government staffs to host photos and some small stories about how their life like living in Beaufort. We don't need to post some deep writing historical articles on Facebook page. We can just share some interesting moment. Like these are the photos I take when I travel there. They have beautiful sunsets. They have beautiful scenery. There are artistic projects in their galleries, and also can find sharp tips. And also you feel close to the nature. That's some interesting things you can share on the Facebook, and using Facebook to make people want to really experience Beaufort. And the second platform I chose is Twitter. For Twitter, my recommendation is to be associated with influencers. These are top 7 influencers I choose about the traveling among the traveling accounts. They can invite the bloggers to Beaufort and let them to post photos and write articles about them and put them in their own Twitter accounts to use their influence to help market Beaufort. And social media platforms can also promote it together. When I'm thinking about promoting Beaufort to young people, I think Instagram account is something that we must do. But how to make people notice that you make an Instagram account? So I'm thinking that we can make a photo sharing contest. First, we can make the residents or the staffs to post photos on the Instagram under the Beaufort hashtag, and also we can cooperate with some photography institutions and make them to take photos of Beaufort and sharing them on Instagram account. This is a sample poster of photo sharing contest. And next, I'm thinking about the video contest, because when I do research of Beaufort's competitors, they all have YouTube account, and YouTube can visualize everything and can present Beaufort very vividly. So I think it is good to make 1 minute image promoting video. And since we are not the masters of editing videos, so we can hold a contest to do it. Beaufort is cooperating with NYU Consulting Clubs. We are doing a marketing plan for them. They can also cooperating with other art schools or the other filmmaking schools nearby. So they can invite the passionate students there to help them to make the video and join the test, because there are students nearby. So I think the flight or the cost won't so much like we do. So that's all about social media. We'll have Julie.
All right, thanks. So now we're going to go back to basics for these boomers with some traditional media. There's a lot of talk about whether social media is overtaking traditional media. I did some research on ways that they're working together and ways in which they have different objectives, for example. So traditional media has a bit more of a reach, a broader reach. It's also a more controlled message. So it's very good for brand awareness. That's controlled by the destination typically. And then if you have social media, that can be kind of finicky. We all know how the message boards can be on any site. So that's more about brand image. That's where you can do a lot of cool things with the contests and things like that. So, but I would agree that we're not really looking at advertising for the most part. For instance, on the actual plane home from Beaufort, I was looking at Condé Nast Travel, and I was like hitting our colleagues next to me. I was like, look at this. There's an ad for Charleston, for Savannah, and for Hilton Head right in a row, and there was none for Beaufort. That kind of stuck out a little bit to me.
But I think maybe there might be better ways, because I was way in the back and I was just looking at it because I'm, really interested in researching. But there's maybe better ways that where Condé Nast, for example, could do a story, not necessarily about, it depends on how you develop relationships with writers and you target stories based on different narratives that you want to tell. Of course, it works better if you know the writer and you can pitch them a story ahead of time. So if you do the work for them, they're far more likely to enter, and they know you, to open their email than if you're just sending a press release, because we know those are kind of declining in returns. So we would, for Condé Nast, for example, we wouldn't just pitch the National Reconstruction Center. We may not even just pitch Beaufort, but we might pitch different national parks around the South that have a very charming feel to them as well. That might be a story. If we're going after the New York Times. The New York Times has done several stories on Beaufort about how they're trying to showcase this history and make some tourism out of it, or actually just talk about it, because it's kind of buried, and it's a story that needs to be told. For instance, if we're going for like a Wall Street Journal or a Forbes, we might talk about how it's this kind of small town, charming place that's sandwiched between these bigger markets, but they're kind of fighting to tell their story, and they're doing some really cool stuff with it to get people to come visit them. A lot of my research talked about how media familiarization tours are still pretty good. They have charts that say the more journalists we can get to come in, the more awareness gets out there. But of course, it takes a lot of woman and manpower to kind of handle all those journalists, because you want to make sure that you're targeting the right people. You want to make sure that you're handling all their accommodations, that you're tracking their articles, and that you're kind of tailoring the narrative that you want, things that you want them to see while they're here in town. It's not just like go do whatever you want. It's like, oh, you're interested in that your blog is about, here are some things that you can do. Here's your itinerary. You don't just let them run amok. And then you kind of monitor what they're doing, and you track that, and then you also use you have to definitely publicize it. So for instance, at my work today, we were nominated for an award, but I don't know if social media or anybody's going to even talk about it, and now you've got a waste. So now you've let that kind of go to nothing. Okay, stakeholders, and also public relations. The National Reconstruction Center, unfortunately, several years ago, they already had a bit of a backlash from certain groups of people that weren't really comfortable with the idea. And so I think in this department, it would be important to have someone who is good with public relations that can not only address some of these more sensitive political and cultural issues, but they can also promote the idea and work with stakeholders to make it a more unified project. Great. We talked a little bit about how the local residents can be guests as well. When it's not the tourist high season. Let's give them a minute to have their, okay. So when it's not the tourist high season, you're gonna have locals. Beaufort, fortunately, has a big baby boomer population. So we already have kind of who is going to see this historic and heritage travel as well. So that's a good start. I mentioned the Friends of organizations in DeSoto, the DeSoto National Park. They have a Friends of organization who they were able to raise the revenue of the park by 24% just by putting on events. And that was just people who really liked the park and wanted to have more of a community feel were able to do this. We don't have to just, I mentioned the Condé Nast, but also there's a lot of people in the area who have cars. That's kind of the easiest way to get around, as we know from our experience there. So a lot of people are doing staycations. So when the gas prices are high, when the economy is bad, staycations are always a great opportunity. And then of course for national reach, we might use brochures, but if we're in town, they have a lot of community newspapers or different things. What else should we talk about on here? But really they're going to be the kind of people that are going to return, and they're going to kind of sustain you when the tourists aren't available. Okay, these experience economies is one of my favorite things to talk about. Because I am in events, I learned a lot about the experience economy. Pine and Gilmore, in '98, they produced their kind of landmark history and research on this topic. So they basically say that through the years, we've gone through several stages of our economy, and we've consistently add value to this economy in various ways. So we're looking at Beaufort, for example. Let's start with cotton. So that's one of their kind of cash crops that they had in Beaufort. So how do we add value to this commodity? And we turn it into a good. So cotton has, you know, the brand, the t-shirts, all the socks, all the underwear. Now you've got a good. But now how do you add value to that? We turn that into a service. So there we've got a store, or we've got someone who's actually sewing the shirts or making them into kind of better products. Then from there, now what do we do after that? How do you add value? Well, basically what we're doing is we're taking these props and services and we're staging them theatrically to kind of produce some sort of emotional, immersive experience. So that's where we are. So now we have the cotton, we have the clothing, now we put on a fashion show. This one is specifically for the cotton company. And now we're kind of getting even to like this thing where we can now take all those experiences, and we talked a lot about posting them on social media and then they get out that way. Events. So events are a fantastic way to add value. They are great for the locals, and they also give a reason for tourists to come visit. So we talked a little bit when we were in Beaufort about looking at historical records, ways that we could use more authentic experiences to create celebrations while still being mindful that we will be commodifying a culture, and that comes with certain risks. So we want to be mindful of that. But there's still value in putting on a festival with traditional gullah, baskets or crafts and food, songs, cooking, all these kinds of things. Another way, of course, is movies. Beaufort has a lot of movies. We got to see we went on a movie tour while we were there. So that's another way to kind of bring in tourists. And also do events. Like I know the Big Lebowski, for instance, they always have like a bowling-themed movie showing thing. They have a big kind of cult following. Something that like Forrest Gump, for instance, has as well. Yeah, that's pretty good with that. Let's see. Oh, the big one is the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation. Things like that's the kind of events that I would be looking at in terms of the historic publications, things we would find in those records. Okay, so what's next for them? So do we think that's the big question, is like, do we think this thing is possible? We think it's definitely possible. There's definitely a market. There's a market already in town, and there's a market beyond the town as well. So these are some places that Beaufort could look at actual national parks that already exist for some of the elements that they want to incorporate into their museum. So the Patterson Falls, great, historic. They, for instance, have a walking tour where you can go on your phone and key in. It's like an app. And that's basically what Beaufort wants to create, is an app. So that's a great example of that. The Boston Harbor Islands, they have an example where they have a tour that goes on to, they take a boat and you go onto the islands, and they're pretty far away. So Beaufort's looking at doing that as well to reach some of these harder to get to places. A duck tour, I know we talked a little bit about that, is having like an actual boat that can go on land and in water. Sagamore Hill has sort of a walking tour. St. Augustine is kind of a great location to look at for a place that's not really near an airport, but is super charming and has a national park. DeSoto, we mentioned. The Women's Rights National Park is a great example of kind of a place that has sort of a controversial social issues around it that they kind of have to address on a daily basis, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's also a platform and a responsibility and a respectability, so they can have a modern conversation, which I think is a great thing to have, and we're going to kind of need it as we go forward. The MLK House, that one is always packed. Gettysburg, of course, is like the classic example of Civil War tourists, and of course baby boomers are known for being not only people that would go to like Civil War sites, but they're also high value consumers. So they like events, they like this more added value, and they're also people that are going to stay longer, which is exactly the kind of the client that we're looking for here. And then the final two things are talking about some of the national park foundations that exist. This is some of the advertising that could be a great draw. This is the centennial of the park's service. So these are some of the great ad campaigns that they do. This is a See America campaign that was done years ago when people were going to Europe. It's like 100 years ago. And the trains were really instrumental at bringing people throughout the U.S. so they could see it. And they're bringing the ad campaign back. And so every park has their own beautifully done unknown artist designs this beautiful campaign. And then I love this one where they put two very different parks together, and they kind of show kind of the majesty and like what is possible in this park service. And the final one is we talked about group tours, and there are group tours that are already going on. And so South Carolina, and They have a lot of national parks right in the area. Charleston, of course, has a very has part of the story of its reconstruction. There's a few others, like Congaree. I'm missing a couple, but that's another option. So we think it's possible. We think it's a great idea. Can't wait to be a part of it. Can't wait to have said that we were part of this story and we were helping with this. Maybe the New York Times will do a story on us about New York's greatest school, helping out Beaufort and loving the town, really. So thank you all.
Okay, questions?
Yes, Annie.
But I have seen a lot of like marketing tactics that you have invested your time in, and it's really appreciate to hear about that. So, but I personally think that Beaufort is kind of a small city, and they might be have the really limited budget on investing on the like the traditional channels like the press or something like that. So if you have a chance to pick the most important channels, so which channel you want to use?
Of all of them, or in the traditional
Yeah.
marketing?
Yeah. No, the old
I mean, I would say, I would say press, because it includes the events, they bring publicity, and it also helps generate this conversation that we're discussing with this park. It tells a story. People love stories. So I would say that. I'd argue for.
I will say that based on the analysis that I saw, a lot of inquiries are coming from places close to South Carolina, like Georgia, North Carolina, parts of Florida. So the idea is that because people are already calling in and they're asking questions, I mean, they're not being marketed, but they're asking questions, the technique will be to use something, whatever channels, to reach that radar. So that's one of the purpose of what I did the analysis, that it has to be on stages. It cannot just be blast. If I had to pick, obviously, the market there is a lot from the South. They go a lot with magazines. They go a lot with events. Events brings a lot of people into Beaufort. And putting all of your effort into those localities that are actually already asking for questions. So that is your big buck. That is your piggy bank, right? The other one that I will do is definitely everybody's online. I will put a lot of money into my website and my Meta and Google Analytics. Why? Because I need to understand my market, and that technique, no matter how much it costs, is going to teach me to know where are people coming from, how to reach them. If they come to my web, how they're staying, how they're coming into the funnel. So it will be a lot of money on intelligence, and what I'm saying actually correlates with what the professor from Beaufort said, that is a lot on consumer intelligence, making sure that you target the surrounding area through this kind of marketing that she's talking about. But a lot has to do with, the first technique will be a lot on South way of communicating. For them, word of mouth is huge, and they trust that more than online stuff. So that's my take from my analysis that I've done, and that would be the recommendation I would give.
You guys mentioned that event, the marketing plan will be heavily driven by the events. Do you have any particular events already in your mind that?
We talked to Beaufort a little bit about the Emancipation Proclamation, reading of it, because they had said that slaves didn't feel, if they didn't hear it, then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ones. We talked a little about reenactments. I'm really big into festivals. When they do the reenactments, they do parades already. They're incorporated. And it'd be really cool to see some sort of like Forrest Gump fan sort of gathering type things. And in your project, of course, you talked about the dogs. And Marielle mentioned an event with dogs. That would be fantastic. That'd be huge.
The dog first, and then did they shoot from there? Or
Which one?
Yeah. Forrest Gump?
Forrest Gump?
Oh my
There
God,
were
yeah.
scenes, yeah.
The scene where they're sitting on a tree, and the scene where he's running for the first time without that's Beaufort.
Oh,
And the
really?
sign where he's going in, he's running, it says Mississippi. That's not Mississippi, that's Beaufort. So they have a market. People already go and ask questions about Beaufort. They have already, they have the in through to film. That's another way to do it. If we want to get those people from the 90s. I mean, I'm talking about some of the early baby boomers. I mean, that's how you get them.
And that's a really classic one.
Yeah.
That's a food that everyone knows.
And there's so many others. One with Barbara Streisand, the Prince of Tides. I mean, it just has this charm that it needs to be exploded. It just needs to, you get to get the people there.
So just a suggestion, I think it's very impressive you aggregated all that valuable gems in one place for increasing the awareness as a Beaufort brand. But there's a feeling that everything is arranged in a row. So if you can just organize it in a sexier way, then and maybe you can propose in a more packaged way, that would be great.
What you're saying is that
So
we need to kind of, in other words, what is the product? We understand that it's Beaufort, but what is about Beaufort and what is it about the market that the product is meant to be? I say that the product is, first of all, the historical, okay, especially if you're going to hit the historical segment. It is the relaxation, which I'm going to piggyback on you guys, and it is basically the southern charm of the city. So it has to be a balance of, hey, parents, you want to go with your children to learn something, you need a car. Beaufort, you need to have a lot of people. I think you need to target a lot of the people who drive. I mean, that's what the market says. That's what the analysis said. You know what I mean? And now, especially now, when a lot of people are trying to go to destinations in where they can bring their family or their dogs, I'm sorry, you will need a car. So, it has to be packaged. I think that by having the reason why I want the dog thing to work out, because it will add value to Beaufort. It's just that it's going to make it more of a. Do you know that the writings from Plymouth, is it?
Oh, they're about to do some research on if they are in fact the first town in America. If Plymouth's going to be knocked out of its
Exactly. We're talking about major change in history. Once you get that, I'm sorry. I mean, and they said that in their interviews. They have said that and they're working with Spain. And they actually asked me if I knew anybody in Spain. I don't. But they're working with Spain to finally solidify that. The product will be that, the historical significance, how they lived, and how freedom was given to a group of people way before it even took around the country. And not only that, you have a landscape that it could allow you to live that through the mosque, through the houses that are still in place, to the places where Martin Luther King sat and had a lake to look at. I mean, that is the product. The product is come and see history now. But history is not happened before. History is still here because we're still living. Thanks to the liberation of Martin Luther King, we're still, we have this liberty. We have all these things that happen. Come live it here and share it. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. The brand they need to create an image. They don't have that. They have to position themselves. We didn't do that, but we gave them the market. The next step is, what is the position and what is your image and how you're going to position it?
Personally, I think that just talking about the current situation, that I know potential President Donald Trump say something very inappropriate about the racists and Muslims, that I know that's not very good. It's very sensitive to talk about and very dangerous for marketing. But think about Beaufort probably is one of the pioneer areas in the country about African American history.
Yeah.
It's the moment that it's the moment that you can talk something and raise
Exactly.
equal opportunities and other things. I think as you guys suggested, that you should work with some of these associations
The historians.
to publish that stories to everyone.
I mean, the fact that one of the
Especially
first
people care about it.
congressmen, I think, was a black man. I mean, what was his name? He was amazing. I mean, we even saw his house where, his mother was a slave to this woman, and the man reached height. I mean, he was involved in politics. Once people came back and started taking land away from the African Americans, all of that died. The fact that people don't know there was a little miniature rehearsal for Reconstruction living before everybody knew. I mean, I would take my kid there. I would want to do that. So I think that is the product. But now it's the theme. How do you bring it? That is the whole thing. The thematic ways that you bring people in, because you don't want to make Beaufort into just I'm a Hilton head up. No, you're not. No, you're not.
You're special.
You should not be that. Shame on you if you think you are.
So, did I catch you guys saying that it's possibly that's where the versus Plymouth Rock, that there's possibly
Yeah, well,
people?
this one of our, on our tour we went on that she was saying that they're working with a lot of historians to see if it was in fact like a first settlement.
So then Beaufort could be the land of firsts.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that could be a nice.
There's your sexy
that could be
products.
your-
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
A couple things I was surprised, from both Beaufort groups, is we talked a little bit about in presentations, you want to show current reality and then what it could be. A lot of you guys talked about what it could be, but didn't show the current reality. And I think showing that contrast, you both said the website needs to be fixed. I don't think I saw a single slide of the website. Did I?
The
The
only-
Beaufort
We saw the
website?
Michigan one.
No, we
No,
didn't.
no, the Beaufort website.
Yeah.
We saw what it could be, but we didn't see what it was.
Right.
And so, when you're trying to show what you can be, it's always good to remind people where you are right now. So maybe there's a reason why people aren't coming to Beaufort, because look what you're offering compared to what Michigan's offering.
On my analysis, I started with specifically the vision that travel guide agencies have, because that was part of my literature.
So what I heard from both groups, which I think is interesting, or maybe important for you guys, is one is the website needs to be fixed. It doesn't tell a very good story about the town. And two, you better get good reviews of people who go there, because review sites are really important to your customers. So what I didn't get, I got it kind of with the dog thing, but I didn't get and I don't know the answer to this now, is does Beaufort deliver on their historic story?
Yes.
Okay, well, see, there we go. Yes and no. And nobody over here said anything.
Yes.
So it's a good question to ask then, because you don't want to create a marketing plan over something that's not going to deliver. Because if you tell the world, you got to come to Beaufort because it's all about a land of firsts and a land of where truly, African Americans were free before anywhere else.
It's the beginning of civil rights.
Are we
Right.
delivering on that when you go there? Do you get that feeling when you get there? I don't know. I think you have to be careful, by the way, also of Forrest Gump, because Forrest Gump was in Mississippi, even though they filmed it in South Carolina.
No, they were actually
Even though they
They
filmed
filmed
it,
it
it
there,
was
yeah.
not supposed to be, I don't think, South Carolina when he was.
Right, but it's the
there.
film, it's the set. You
Yeah,
want to
but
go where it was
It would be
filmed.
better if that was actually where he was supposed to. He grew up, because then you could have Tom Hanks do your talking tours, because it'd be great to have
Well, they
the
do that in
guys-
But they
Savannah.
have.
They do that in Savannah. That's their shtick there.
So that's the part I don't know.
But see, that's the
Do they
thing.
deliver on the historic or not?
But that's the thing. From that article, and by looking at the data, especially from that article, the mayor says bluntly on this council meeting, we don't, and it's a shame.
We have it. We're just not getting the story out.
Exactly.
It's steeped in history. There's a
Exactly.
lot
It's
of
not that they
great
don't have
stories.
it. It's that they have failed.
But see, okay, I'm still not sure from your presentation that that's true. Okay, so in your presentation, I didn't get, this place has the history, and we need to deliver on it. I didn't get that.
Well, you can't, because
whole
that's
other
the awareness.
presentation.
That is
Yeah.
where they need to be. We know that they have this thing. We know that they have failed to do that, especially with more records that they're getting. It is ready to be done.
I'd also
They're not
argue.
getting it.
Yeah, I'd also argue that this is that because we went there, we did see presentations, we saw tours, we saw the actual sites, we saw several PowerPoints that do tell the history. So we're coming at it like that's step one. Now we're step two.
Right.
So we're building on that. We'd have to give you a whole other presentation on Reconstruction, and we wouldn't have the time to do that.
So it's
I
product
didn't- I didn't want
development.
that, but I saw even in the SWOT analysis, there was some risk to the historic stuff, the heritage and all that. So
Yeah.
that's where I wasn't sure about, right?
Yeah.
Right? So if we're okay with it, then we should say that. Or if we're not okay with it, we should say that. I'm not telling you what you guys should say, because I don't even know, having seen your presentation, whether you guys believe it or not. So so when you're presenting, you guys got to decide. Are we going to say? It sounds like now you're saying that you do deliver on that. You've got the tools for that. You've got something that would attract people, and they would write. The reason I'm saying all that is when you bring them in, whether you do whatever events you do, whatever, and they go to see the reconstruction, and they write into TripAdvisor, are they going to say, "Wow, I was amazed at the history of this town. I never knew this history existed. I'm so proud to be an American. Beaufort leads in the nation in race relations.
That's kind of what you
Or am I
researched.
going to say, I really saw like a stool and a chair and a house, and I didn't really get the whole story. So I don't know.
But see, again, based on the information that I saw and read, one of the things that the professor from Beaufort University showed is that people are coming to Beaufort and they're saying, I did not know that this happened
Mhm.
here. I would love to know. And the mayor's saying, I know. That's
great.
why we need reconstruction. That's why we need the NYU people.
But I
You
think
know?
he was also asking, if I did that, who would come and how many and how would they pay for it?
And that's what we were
But,
answering.
but how they will pay for it, it wasn't part of the scope.
Well, I mean, will they be able
Oh,
to
yeah.
afford?
Once they get the market, once they know, once they start to because there's stages to all this. To us was, is there a market? And if there's a market, how do you reach it? And within that, they have to build on what image you're gonna put, how you're gonna go after, what you're gonna implement,
Yeah.
what programs you're gonna do, what events you're gonna do. Because from there, you're gonna start building your image, and slowly but surely, you're gonna start saying, okay, now we could do this event, or now we could do this program, and you just go up. But right now, we are in such the beginning part of reconstruction. So that is, we can't go anywhere else. We cannot even do itineraries.
I'll send you their slideshow because they've already done the research. They've already had students do the research on, do we have the history? What is it? And they've got over 100
Oh, yeah.
sites. So that's established. They've
Yeah.
got it, and they just want to put it all in.
Yeah.
They've got so much of it. They want to put it in a national reconstruction, the first museum, so that they can tell the story better
Some of
of
that's
all
going to
these
have to be
sites.
on their websites and their marketing
Yeah,
too.
oh, absolutely.
But they're getting grants. It's a huge process. It's been
Because right now, the National Parks Association, what they want is, look, if a reconstruction site needs to be done, in place, and constructed, where it should be? Beaufort.
feasibility's next.
Beaufort. And that's why this project is happening, because they want to have a marketing plan that's more appealing to the National Parks
This is
Association.
pre-feasibility.
Exactly. The feasibility about how much they're going to pay,
That's coming up.
how it's going to be, that's later.
They're
That's
getting a
not
grant
us.
for that.